For all of you who don't know, my name is Adam Mixter. I am where I work in developer support. I'm going to be hosting this meeting along with a couple of my co-hosts. I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves. So I already went. So
yeah, I'll go next. I am Dan Gritters. I'm part of our rapid response team that handles the release of our patches and releases. I'll hopefully be getting to field some of your questions on possible issues regarding your migrations, etc. And that's it for me.
All right. Hi, I'm Brian. I am a QA analyst in the KL office. I spend half of my time in project testings and another half on training and support. Now, today, I hope to answer all of your testing related questions in this migration workshop. All right.
cool. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the migration changes first for the migration guide for developers. So here we go. The first thing that's been added is we refactored DSIP data to have JSON functionality in a separate class. So if you were using this, you'll have to call JSON interface on the DSIP data class, excuse me. And that should give you the same information if you were using this before. We're pretty sure that most people weren't using this, but if you are, this shows you how to interact with the interface in the way that you used to do. Next up, we have some Lightworks stuff that was removed. There's various classes and methods that have been now removed instead of just being deprecated. We haven't been using Lightworks engine in a long time, so this really shouldn't affect your extension too much at this point, though you may have some code that we never got rid of because it was just sitting around and not doing anything, not hurting anything. There's a variety of these changes, so that information has been added where relevant to the different sections you can see here. You can always contact dev support if you have more questions about these changes, but like I said, because Lightworks hasn't actually been used in a very long time, it really shouldn't be affecting you too much. The next thing that was changed in the migration guide is we did some reorganization. The first thing we reorganized is that props scheme had some changes that were noted, but didn't have like replacement functions or methods in cases of removal. So in those cases, we've added those and just expanded on the information that was there. It's not a big change, but I just wanted to mention that they did change some things around. So if you looked at the guide last week and you look at it this week, you might notice it looks different. Most of the information is still just there with maybe just a couple of additions. And then the last thing that we've changed since last week, there's been some changes to the abstract properties factory. Oh, that should read factory. An abstract property factory. Those changes were actually on their own page. And in the migration guide, you get to a certain point, it mentioned those changes and then give you a link to take you to a new page with all that information in there. Instead of having its own page, we just migrated it back into the greater guide. So all that information is available on the same page as everything else, instead of being its own independent thing. Any questions on any of those changes? Okay. So now I'm gonna let Brian talk a little bit about the QA migration guide changes.
All right, thank you, Adam. Now for testing side of things, there isn't a lot that's been changed, but just ever so slightly. Now, there are some changes, a few changes in the developer migration guide. So we think that there are two additional areas that it'd be good to look at that corresponds to the developer migration guide changes. Now, first of it will be the core properties. There are some renamings of the core properties classes. And all of the method function parameter in core classes has also been renamed for consistency purposes. Now with that, we recommend you to look at your manufacturer extension. Please look at the quick and animation properties. Now ensure there are no missing properties. Make sure everything is still the same as before. And please toggle through these different options and make sure they can apply to your snappers. All right, next one, Adam. All right, the second area that I'd like to emphasize on will be physical lights. Now to recap, physical lights is a feature in CT 12.0. Now for those of you who have migrated to physical lights, use your manufacturer's light extension. Check that the lights they are showing correctly. That is very important. And you can also do a render and make sure they still look okay before and after. And you can enable the real-time light, that switch, and make sure it still switches between the non-real-time light and also the real-time light, soft light, to making sure the switch still works after I've migrated to CT 12.5. Yep, that's all I have for the testing side of things.
Great, thanks, Brian. Next,
Alright.
we're gonna have Dan talk about some issues that are known or being worked on now in product land.
Yeah, so already this is a little bit out of date. But at the time, one of the issues that we knew about is that when you'd place catalog creator objects, you'd drop one from the creator and modify the properties, and then drop another one from the creator. The properties would swap. And also there's a couple of crashes in Photolab when you're adjusting the clipping or other settings. And as of right now, we actually have had some testing, regression testing from our QAs in 12.5. So we actually have a large backlog now that's starting to form for regression bugs. It's probably not worth going through each individual ticket, but if any of you all have concerns or have found an issue and would like to voice them, then I can double check our backlog and make sure that we don't already have that showing. That being said, we can move now on to the resolved issues. We actually have a lot of resolved issues, not actually from our RT, but from the project teams that had regression. So most of our fixes are in lighting or palette racking, with a few scattered in Collab Pro and Mirror. Like I said, not anything that RRT has done, but mostly just project team stuff. And then we can move on to issues in progress. So this is another thing that changed. At the time, we weren't, as RRT, working on any of the regression bugs, but right now we're actually looking at an issue with loaded, let's see the exact name, loaded papers, a performance related problem for loading papers. And that is all I have to report from Rapid Response right now.
Sweet, thanks, Dan. All right, and now is probably the moment you've all been waiting for. I'm going to open up the floor for any developer Q&A type questions. You should feel free to unmute yourself, or you can always just type something in the chat if you want, and I'll just read your question out loud. Okay, hi Sammy. What do we have? So Sammy asks, I got a specific problem with one of the changes done in the migration.
Okay, might as well unmute myself.
Sounds good.
After this way, I'm trying to find the specific change. It had to do with work surface snapping. It was pretty well hidden. Okay. It says global variables for work surface snapping properties have been renamed. And oh, this was actually a related one. It's up here. The first item listed under CM Abstract Office pulled work surface snapping animation properties out of G2 animations. These are now added by the work surface itself. And now I have a piece of code in our extension that was not originally by me. And I have no idea how to make this work with this change in place.
All right. Is it something that you're willing to share, or would it be better to have it like in a dev support ticket? We can kind of talk about it a little bit. The specific thing that your manufacturer is working on or attempting to do.
Well, I guess we can handle it through a ticket.
Okay. Yeah, if it's one of those type of things, that's fine. You can always send a ticket to developer support, which I'm sure you probably already know, but just in case someone else is listening that doesn't know how to do that, the email address is developersupport@configure.com, or you can actually use our portal that we've added. I'll go ahead and I'm going to put a link to the portal in the chat, and I'm going to buy some time for myself as I'm talking through that because I don't have it handy right this second. Okay, here we go. You can also put a ticket in this way. The reason that the second method is preferred, though I know it's more of a pain, is because in the second case, we actually get the ticket formatting to look a little bit better. So there's the portal there if you want, or like I said, you can still use developersupport@configure.com to send your issue in. But yeah, if you want, you and I can talk about that in a ticket if that would make you more comfortable, and then we can see what we can do there. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and have us move on to the more QA portion of the discussion, unless someone's got something now. And then, if you do think of something, we can always go back and talk about stuff later as well. So anybody have any QA type questions for us? All righty, I'm going to take that resounding silence as a nobody's got any QA type questions. So last slide.
Edit.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Sorry to interrupt. Now, if you do have any testing related questions at the time of testing, but not right now, feel free to send us an email at QAsupport@configure.com. We can take that through a ticket as well.
Yep. Great reminder. Thank you, Brian.
Yep. I'll put the email in the chat dialog. All right.
Oh, perfect.
All right. You can move on there, Adam.
Yep. Sounds good. Okay. Last slide I have for you is just a reminder on some more upcoming dates. So let's go with that. So October 4th is the second migration workshop. October 11th is the third, and October 18th is the fourth one. The 18th is also the day that the release candidate will be released for everyone's testing purposes. On November 1st, we have the release sign-off deadline. To most of us, that doesn't mean a whole lot, but it's a good reminder in case one of your PMs or something has forgotten about it. That's when we expect everyone to have tested and signed off that their extension is going to work and everything. November 15th is the release for 12.5, and November 29th is the day when we close the release window, which means if your extension's still not migrated by then, we start turning stuff off. So don't be that guy that's sitting there on November 29th without your extension migrated if you can help it. So I'm going to give you guys just 30 more seconds or so, just in case anybody has any more questions and they want to throw something in the chat or unmute themselves and ask. Otherwise, we'll probably wrap this one up a little bit early. All righty. Well, thanks everybody for coming, and we will catch you next time.